Hey everyone. So this is part of a screencast that I do for a physician assistant program. I lead their research track, and at the end of the program, the DMSC is their Doctor of Medical Science. At the end of their program, they do a symposium poster. And I've had some questions about our poster for class. The whole purpose of the poster assignment for our class is to give you practice, to give you opportunities to work on conveying your message in that format. So in week 9, we have the platform presentation or the platform type screencast. Why is that valuable? Because it is an 8 to 10 minute aspect or presentation that you would do at a professional conference to share your research. And so you've got a very finite period of time and you have to get your message across in that time period. The poster is similar in that you're presenting your research findings in a large space, and you're hoping that your poster attracts the eye of those people passing by. Now, in week 2, at the end of the week 2 screencast, there is the scoring rubric, and also in week 2, I presented some examples of past posters. When doing your poster, let's look a little bit more at what should go into it, or maybe another way of saying that is what are the aesthetics. So a good poster, it's going to contribute to medical knowledge and it has high educational value. It might highlight also the need for change in clinical practice or change in a diagnostic or prognostic approach. Now, if you've been to a professional conference, you've seen this type of setup, poster boards all over the place, and posters thumbtacked to each side of the boards. And then people will walk around looking for something that interests them. And really, what's valuable, I think what you should try to go for is getting somebody to want to stop by and talk to you about your research. It's boring if you just stand there for 2 hours. I've done that before. I maybe had the unlucky location where I was positioned at the farthest away. Well, that's okay. Sometimes it's the way the cookie crumbles. But if you can be in a location where you get a lot of foot traffic, and if you can then create a poster that has a kind of an eye-catching appeal to it, that can really then make your 2-hour block interesting and fun. So with this here, this is more information for those physician assistant students. So we don't need to worry about going through this because you're not going to be presenting your poster. You're just working on the process of preparing it. Now, these are sections specific to the poster for the PA students. What you're going to have, and again, look at the examples, what you're going to have is your introduction, your methods, your statistical analysis, and then the inclusion of figures and tables. And if you've got references, maybe having 3 or 4 references only. You really don't want to take up a lot of space with your reference list. So the poster should be a visual description of your work. You need enough details so that your audience can understand the clinical significance of your report. Be succinct with your text, though. This should not be just a dump of words. So it should be something that people read a little bit, but not feel like they have to read a whole entire paper. And it's really valuable to use figures, pictures, diagrams to help illustrate your research idea. Have a good color scheme, leave about 40% white space. That's debatable. That's the recommendation from one source that I took from. Don't use a background or graphics that will be too distracting. White text on a dark background is hard to read, for example. and 3 to 4 columns total. So you want to get people's attention and you want to get them to talk to you. In your title, don't use all caps. Authors, this is a recommendation, a style of doing things where you would have you as the first author. Now, in your case, you're going to be the only author, but if you had several people, like if this was something for your dissertation, you would list out each person, potentially list their professional initials, and then where they are affiliated. I like to use Times New Roman. Some individuals like to use sans serif fonts. That's a recommendation for reading things from a distance. Colors, don't use colors as the background for graphs or figures. Use just a few colors that go together. Multiple colors on a bar graph or a line graph are okay, but otherwise don't go crazy with your colors. Tables and charts, keep them simple and easy to understand. Try to remove unnecessary borders, lines, and backgrounds. Use solid colors and highlight important values. You can see some examples there of good charts, bad charts, how they look really busy on the bad chart side, and good tables and bad tables where you've got extra colors in there that make it a little bit harder. And I think especially with the one where there's the black there, having the white on the black is not considered optimal. Pictures, obviously don't use pictures of actual people. And careful about how you stretch your pictures out. Make sure your pictures have meaning. Sometimes people will put pictures up, but they don't really mean anything. So really try to get something that is relevant to what you're doing. If you're doing an epidemiologic research study where you're looking at injuries in professional football, it would be okay to have a picture showing a football tackle, for example. But if you were doing an epidemiologic study looking at disease in, communicable diseases in elementary school children, a football picture would not be appropriate. So visuals, size-wise, this gives you an idea, because think about this. If you've got them really small as people walk by, they're not going to read something. But if their things are bigger, that might get their attention. So again, the tendency is a lot of times people will, in this class, want to put more information than necessary. Don't worry about that. You're going to be explaining and discussing in your presentation, in your screencast, and you're going to be writing about this in your paper. So again, try to focus on using as minimal amount of words as possible while still getting your message across. So examples of some good ones and some bad ones. Obviously, there's some good examples from past epidemiologic classes on Canvas. Here's a bad example where there is just kind of an awkward layout with the columns. There is difficulty reading, too much wording, the use of obnoxious figures or graphics. This is another one that's considered not a great one. A lot of words, really small. Tables aren't all that great, no figures. This is considered an appropriate one. This one may have too many words. It's kind of on the borderline, but I do like the use of the different figures in there that makes people want to kind of check that out. One problem with this, the wording's kind of small, so from a distance, it may be hard to follow along on. So this one is considered an even better one. This is a good balance between text and visuals for a poster. All right, some final thoughts here. Now this is for the PA class, so I'm not going to read through that one. This one's more of kind of like how you would talk about it with people. So there's an example. Just wanted to share that just because people always have questions. And please reach out via email if you've got questions about your poster or platform presentation.